Hi guys, so today's video is about journaling, refining your edge through the documentation and reflection of your trades. I'm sure everybody watching these videos knows what journaling is. I've been meaning to do this video for some time. And yeah, just a quick insight into how I journal, what that sort of looks like, and yeah, the process that I go through and why I think it's so important. So let's get into it. So this will be a short video, but before we carry on, I'm going to ask my viewers to please hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up. And yeah, really appreciate any support on this channel. If you like my content, then would really appreciate you do so, and it will encourage me to make content in the future going forward. So this is a trade taken on rats, and this is basically a snippet out of my journal. Now, I've chosen a trade that wasn't the best performer. There were a lot of mistakes, lessons to be learned, but I did so just because I wanted to show you the raw, unadulterated, content from my journal. Not cherry picking one of my biggest winners, because that's not realistic, and I don't want to put that across. There are many losses that I take, and that's the reality of things, guys. So yeah, we'll run through this trade quickly, and I'm basically going to show you the trade through the journal step by step, so you can see exactly how I document things, to what detail, and the steps that I take. Before I do so, guys, I want to also mention that my journaling process is twofold. So I connect a third-party application called TraderSync to my Bybit account via API. And that basically just pulls all the data for me systematically. I normally do one large sort of heap pull at the end of each month because it's manual to a degree, and I don't want to go in and do that every time I take a trade. But I do that at the end of each month, which then sort of generates a whole bunch of different statistics for me. I can see my best performers, what times of the day, for instance, and then of course have it represented in an equity curve as well. But this for me is the most important part of it, okay, the written journal. And this, yeah, of course, is simple as it comes, just a Word document. And you can see that it's very straightforward, okay? So it's just the date, the asset, what kind of play it is, and then basically just a step-by-step documentation of that trade with screenshots. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk you through this trade step by step. Let me just zoom in ever so slightly. So alert went off, sharp inefficient move into intra-demand on the hourly while sweeping a key level. This is also a coin from the hot topics watch list. As much as I want to take entry here, going to be a little bit more patient. If it runs, it runs, but at the moment it's too wide on this hourly close, not giving the best RR. Remember, if you miss it, that's okay. Opportunities come every day. Usually anyway, these come down to retest the lows. Not sure if I'll get it back to demand, but if it starts to diverge into the sweep level, we'll smash this. So that's my initial documentation. We can see obviously price scorches down, sharp inefficient move, which is what we want to see on the sweeps for a reversal, leaving behind this inefficiency in its wake into intra-demand, but the RR isn't favorable, so I hold off for now. And then you can see we're zooming down. This was the hourly. Now we're zooming down into the 15-minute chart. Okay, so patience paid off, taking 50% installment here. Part of me says not to go so heavy as the RSI div looks unfinished, but this retest of the sweep level plus tap back into demand, got to take at least 50, especially with this 15-minute candle. So you can see that here. So RSI looks like it's in a slightly funky position, but the AO looks fairly good, and price has come back into demand, retesting the sweep level, and we have a very bullish 15-minute candle close there. Price comes down again, could have got lower, have taken another 25% here. Need to constantly remind myself to not let the candle closes affect my decision making. You keep falling into this trap, okay? So you can sense a bit of regret in the words that I'm writing there. Essentially, I never should, by my system, let candle closes affect my decision making process. Here I saw a really nice bullish engulfing 15-minute candle, strong green pin bar close, and that did affect my decision making, which is against my rules. So there you can see just a note to myself basically. Price keeps messing around. These are the trade parameters now. Underwater, but not so bad. Stop the other side of demand. I think I let the AO influence entries too much. Plus that 15-minute candle close. RSI still looks strange here, but holding. So at this point, I am 75% in. So 75% into the trade. Still got another 25% to go. This would be a conservative target in my opinion, but realistically looking at the structure, you could go for fresh highs. Okay, so that's just a zoom out. I think this is the 4 hour we're looking at now. And you can see that I'm talking about this being a reasonable take profit, but given the general structure, we could also aim for a take profit at fresh highs as well. Big wick down, added a final 25%. Now got much more confidence in this moving up now that it's done more damage. Fully in and hit this with some nice size. X amount of dollars risk on the table. Okay, so you can see we do get a larger flush here. And that gives me more confidence that the damage has been done, you know, into the intra-demand zone again. And now we're looking for the move to the upside. Price continues. Now we have a nice divergent structure on the hourly and get the start of a push away. Hopefully this fills the inefficiency above off the back of this and will put the trade in a good position. So you can see now we're looking at the hourly picture. Clean divergences across the AO and the RSI, and we're coming down into demand again, but starting to push away. Okay, so now we can see again on the hourly, we get that push. We get the start of the move. Was tricky holding this, to be honest, but glad I did, looking decent. And now you can see flashing to the next picture. Not so great, right? So had to cut this here. Getting too lost in this trade. Realistically, that impulse, you wanted to see a follow through. I know you need to honor your stops more, but no need to be stubborn here. Taking the L at around minus 0.2 R. Lost X dollars. Okay, so you can see the trade didn't go to plan. I was obviously managing it to quite a large degree. Sized into this trade as well because I thought it was a really good trade. Okay, and we can see we had this impulse here come down, and we're now back at the sweep level, and we're looking at basically tapping into demand once again. Now, if you don't know what demand is, I suggest you take a look at my supply and demand and order blocks video. But essentially, more taps to demand means it's a weakened liquidity zone. Realistically, this is more than enough here. Once we started running and we had that sort of green impulse, especially into this inefficiency here, that basically should have set the trade up. Okay, so we wanted to see a really sharp move, bulls to kick in, you know, violent move to the upside from there. The fact that we came down again and we're trading down at these lows once again is very much, you know, disheartening, not confidence instilling at all. So cut the trade for a loss, a small loss, but still a loss. And then we can just see what happens after the trade. So I see some traders saying things like whatever a trade does after you close is none of your business. I've heard that quite a few times before. I fundamentally disagree with that, just because if you don't know what happens after you close a trade, then how are you going to learn from it? That doesn't make much sense to me. It sort of seems like the cowardly way out because, you know, if this trade were to have run afterwards, if I wasn't looking at it, then sure, I wouldn't have known. If I was looking at it, it would have been pretty painful, but at least I would have learned something from that. And we have to always reflect, document, and that's how we grow, and that's how we better ourselves as traders, okay? So you can see in line with that, I always do something after my trades called PTA, okay? And PTA stands for post-trade analysis. You can see here, I was happy with what I did, of course, great decision. Even though you had high hopes for this trade, you can, at a very reasonable, I think that's meant to say, you came out at a very reasonable time and saved the full 1R loss. In terms of takeaways, don't let the candle closes affect you ever, especially on lower time frames. You're better than this. If the RSI div looks unfinished, it probably is. Listen to your gut more. If the move feels like it very much should have happened and it hasn't, there's probably cause for concern here. And then I move on to a final section, self-reflection, okay? And this is basically how I feel with how I performed in the trade. All in all, happy with how I managed this. It was a loss, fine, but the risk to reward was high and the setup looked good. In different conditions, this would have run. Stay on your game, but keep stringency high. You've had some good wins recently. Don't give it back. So there you have it, guys. There's an insight into one of my journal entries, and most are sort of this length. It may seem fairly extensive to be documenting it as the trade runs through with screenshots, as well as sort of tracking statistical data through APIs. And it may seem like a chore, but honestly, guys, I cannot advocate enough how important it is to be religiously journaling things. Essentially, what it will do is sharpen your edge and will show you what's not working and what is working. So basically, what I do with all this data is at the end of the month, I do a monthly review. Run through this, I spend a full day on the last month just reading, basically just reading, analyzing where I went wrong, taking notes and everything. Do an end of month review, and then I also go through my TraderSync account, but you can use CoinMarketMan or anything that pulls data, to be honest, and look at my biggest winners and basically just run through those. Okay, so each month the winners will look different because the conditions are different, but essentially if you can look at, you know, the last month of trading and just pick out a handful of your biggest winners, then, you know, that's what you should be focusing on for the next month, right? And having that in visual form to such a large degree of detail is invaluable, in my opinion. So yeah, hope you guys garnered some useful information from this. It is quite a simple process. It's slightly arduous, but incredibly helpful. And yeah, if you're not journaling to this degree, then I highly recommend doing so. The more time you can spend on journaling and the less time trading, it will actually benefit your game more than you know. With all that said and done, I hope you enjoyed, guys. Please remember to sub and leave any comments in the comments section as to what you'd like to see next. Appreciate all of you. Catch up soon and happy trading.